Welcome everybody. There's a lot of friends I see on here. I can't remember everybody, but I saw quite a few. Ingrid and Reinhardt, Mike and Ron, Robert, a lot of you guys on here that already are probably already know way advanced on this. This is kind of a deal that Jay and I, N1AV and I put together for a presentation a couple years ago, and I just kind of resurrected it. Let's see now if I want to go. How we got space for next screen, right? A little bit about myself. Who am I? Well, I guess the beginning of the slide presentation by Bill pretty much said it. I used to be WZG. I was 1967 junior in high school, probably like most of you guys, you know, space race going on and all kinds of fun stuff back then. So I was funny. Then I became WZG. I forgot my novice license. And in 1987, I got hooked on VHF contesting. Back then, there were 4 major VHF contests. There was the January VHF contest, which we still have. There was the June VHF contest, which we still have. Then there was an August UHF contest. Now it's 222 and above, they call it, but it used to be what's called August UHF contest. And then, of course, September VHF contest, which is coming up in 2 weeks. Anyways, I was the only person as of right now to win all 4 of those contests in the same year. Also, for those of you who used to come to Dayton back in the day, when we used to have the weak signal group dinners, I ran that for about 20 years, and that was at the Holiday Inn on Ford Road, but years ago. That's probably last one was probably in 2000, somewhere around in there, 2003. And also in 1997, I've been around a long time, like most of you guys I see on here. 1997, I hosted Microwave Update. It's a conference for mostly microwave and EME activity. And then I presented various conferences around the United States. So that's who I am. Okay, how many events are out there for VHF contest? I named the main 4 are, of course, one coming up September. And then the one that replaced the August one is now called 222 and up VHF contest. This is just a small list. Pulled this off of W7BHM and switched it around, but you can see there's not only the 4 major ones, there's all kinds of contests. There's simplex contests, and some of these, of course, aren't in our area, but just to show you that you can search out and find about any kind of contest you want. And a lot of them now are run by, I shouldn't say a lot of them, some have been taken over, some of the smaller ones, by Central States VHF Society. Well, for example, these sprints right here, I think you can see the 222 sprint, 432 sprint, and you've got a 902 and above. Those are actually nationwide, but they're regional, so you can turn in a score. You're not really competing against necessarily everybody in the United States, which makes it nice. Canada's got some. There's pretty much all the QSO parties, and even Field Day. I'll spit it out. Field Day has VHF contesting on it now, in addition. Okay, so also, besides the ones I listed, there's also meteor scatter contests that are worldwide, and there's EME contests. For those you really want to get serious into VHF contesting, there's EME. And that's much simpler now. Back in the day, if you, like Bill said, if you want to look at my website on qrz.com, wawzg.net, you'll see some of the pictures of the EME setup I had. 15-foot dish, 100 watts, you get your echoes off the moon. But now you can do it with a single Yagi and 100 watts and with WSJT and JT65s. With digital technology now, much easier work EME. But if you really want to have fun in the contest, these are the main contests right here. ARRL January VHF contest, the June ARRL, Field Day, the CQWW, which is in July, and there is one I didn't put on here that's gaining popularity. Like I said, it's a 222 and above UHF contest, but again, it's only 222 and above. So if you don't have 222 or 432 capability and go on up, there's not a lot of activity. And then the big one, which is coming up in 2 weeks, is September ARRL VHF contest. Rules are pretty much standard for the big ARRL, as the big ARRL contests, except spotting and skeds. Pretty much for VHF, the ARRL's turned it over to, pretty much anything but making the contact by a cell phone you can do. So if you want to call somebody and said, hey, I'm ready to run on a frequency and you guys want to meet, and go ahead and make the contact. You can self spot it. Pretty much about anything goes, except like you said, trying to finish up the contact over a cell phone. That's about the only that doesn't go. Repeaters are not used in this. You can't actually work the repeaters. And calls those for points. Contest length, most VHF contests begin around 1800 on UTC on Saturday. They end at 300 UTC on Monday, which is late Sunday night. So it's a lot of activity. Most of the local stuff, I'm going to gear this, instead of gearing it for United States or back east where I'm from, it's totally different than it is out here. I'm going to kind of gear this talk more to what we have here, which is most of the activities right to start around 11, 12 o'clock on Saturday morning, local time, to about 3. Then it dies down and it picks up again around, it starts to cool down the evening, around 7 o'clock to maybe 10 o'clock. Then it's pretty much dead overnight unless you want to run meteor scatter, which is what most of us do that are contesting, run, which I'll talk about here in a little bit, the WSJT modes. But then you can get, then Sunday mornings real busy from probably 7 o'clock to about 10:30, about noon, depending. And then it dies off Sunday afternoon like a rock. And then finally around 6 o'clock, 6 to maybe 8 or 9 on Sunday evening, some more activity. One thing I want to throw, I'm going to back up. Well, I'm not going to back up because I don't want to forget where I'm at. But I wanted to mention one thing unique about the Valley, which is really interesting, in the January VHF contest, which is like the second week, full weekend in January, something like that. We have a real active group of SOTA guys that like to go up during that contest. They take, some of them have 6.2, like Pete, W7JTM's got 6.2, 222, 432, 903, and 1296. Takes that all with him. There's a couple of handheld radios out now. They're just FM only, which I'll get into the different modes to use. But during the VHF contesting, FM is used a lot, especially with the handheld modes, or excuse me, handheld radios when the SOTA guys are up on the mountains. So that adds about 24. Last year, there was 24 guys up on different SOTA peaks around the Valley. And even with, Pete's runs 1 watt to a rubber duck antenna on 1296, and I was able to work him out over 150 miles because of his elevation. So there is life up there. And that's the fun one. If you really want to get on and have a lot of activity for this area, I would say the January VHF contest, even with a small station, you can get on. So talking about points, it's very similar to the low band contesting. It's multipliers, grids. In our case, it's grids. Contest categories, there's different ones. There's single op. There are several contest categories. There's several different categories you can pick from. There's single op high power. That's the big dog. 50 megahertz to light. When I mean light, I'm talking they run, some guys, back east where they got club activity, they run laser pointers that are modulated, and I mean they're up there. But you 1500 watt maximum power, and of course big antennas, and that's what you get pretty much east of Mississippi. That's what the big guns are running out there. Out here we got a lot more single op low powers because of one reason. We have a 50 watt limitation here in Arizona on 432 right here. So that's one thing that makes it a little tough. If you're running single op high power, unless you have you can get a waiver from the FCC and through the military, but mostly it's for EME activity where you're going to have your antennas elevated and allow you that. So basically the single op here, low power, you can only run 50 watts on 432. Now there's another single op. There's single op for the lower 4 bands, which are 6, 2, 222, and 432, which is fun. And that's a different category. Then there's also the single op portable. That's 10 watts PEP, portable power, portable equipment. That's what a lot of the SOTA guys run. That's completely battery operated. I'll have some pictures later for Pete runs. I mean, he drags all this stuff up the side of a mountain. Got more guts than or more gumption than I got, I should say. Then there's single op free band. This has gotten to be real popular anymore because of the new rigs on the market that do 6.2 and 432. You can buy them. Even the 706 Mark II. Now, I was just talking, somebody said he was at Dave's house, the N7 Arcade. I just talked to Dave on the phone last night. The 706 Mark II-G, which is a 6.2 and 220, or excuse me, 6.2 and 432 radio, they were pretty reasonable. Dave just told me that they've gone back up in price now. So, but he said around $500 for used radios. But that's an easy way to get on. It's 100 watts on 6 meters. It's I think it's 10 watts on 2 meters, or no, yeah, 10 watts on 2 and 10 watts on 432. So that's a real popular band. Then there's single op FM. This is gaining a lot of traction too, especially in the Valley. I've worked a lot of guys in FM. You can do 6.2, 222, and 446, of course. There's a lot of guys in the Valley because there is a 900 meg repeaters. Now you can't use a repeater for 900 meg, but 927.25, or I can't remember the call frequency, 927.5, I believe it is. But there's a lot of guys that have the 900 megahertz capability. If you've got an FM portable, especially the soda guys in January, they almost all have 900 meg portables. So that makes it a lot of fun. Then you go into multi-op. I know Mike's worked with Larry and Ned on some multi-op here in the Valley. That's the only one I know of personally because I've only been here for 4 or 5 years. I've never run a multi-op. I do a rover. So there's multi-op, and that's of course 2 operators or more, and classic rover. This is where there's two. The rover categories are a little bit odd. There's classic rover, there's limited rover, there's unlimited rover. So the classic rover is basically the same as unlimited rover. You can run the same power, you can have the same antennas, but you have to limit your QSOs to 100 QSOs with one other rover. What we do in the Valley, there's 3 or 4 rovers that are equipped from 6 meters up to at least 3 gigs. Some of them have 10 gig. So you can grid square circle. So what we can do is you can get in the 4-corner grid square and you can circle around. So you work everybody in one grid and everybody moves. And you do grid circling. And it doesn't take long with 8 bands in 4 grids. You can get those 100 Qs pretty quick, but it's a lot of multipliers, a lot of points. It's what the California guys do. They do it out east too, not as much because it's they don't have there's a lot of they still don't have the physical area to do it in like we do here in the Valley. We have what's nice is you got Delta Mike 32, 3 to 33, 42, and 43 out by Maricopa, the convergence. So it's real simple. It's flat. It's pretty easy to get to. Some of it you have to be careful. It's on the Indian reservation, and there's been 2 guys I know of that got stopped when by mistake. They were on the reservation, didn't have any paperwork to be there. Got to be a problem for them. So as long as you stay off the Indian reservation, you can work the 4-corner grid square real easy. Then there's limited rover, which is of course just like the limited on the VHF contesting for single op guys. It's the 4 lowest bands, 6.2, 222, and 432. That's real popular. The biggest problem with the classic rover, limited rover, or any of the multi-band rovers is the 222 equipment right here. That's something that's not really plug and play. There's some 222 FM gear you can buy, but as of we speak, there isn't really any 222 off-the-shelf equipment. You use what's called a transfer, and I'll explain that a little bit more. Then finally, there's the unlimited rover, which is 1,500 watts, same as a classic rover, but you can have 2 or more operators. Unlimited rovers cannot account for club scores. One of the fun parts about VHF contesting, it's a club event. So you can do a club score with classic rover and the others except unlimited rover. Whatever you do with unlimited rover cannot be counted as club score. That ruling was changed, and I'll show you why here towards the end. I'll bring that back up. So just remember that unlimited rover deal. Okay, modes. The most common, of course, is single sideband in the Valley. CW being second. FM is probably close third. But coming up, it's right now 4th place, but coming up fast is MSK 144, JT65, FT8, Q65, FT4, the WSJT suite. That has totally been a big game changer. Now, as you can see, I've kind of written this presentation a year and a half ago, maybe 2. So it's a little dated. FT8 is not only game changer VHF contest, but Q65, that really should say the WSJT suite. So those who are not familiar with the MSK 144, I'm just going to go across them. We all know what CW is. Sideband is the most prevalent. FM MSK 144, that's part of the SJT suite. That's for meteor scatter. Back in the day, in my day, and some of you guys, I know Ingrid's and I'm sure Mike's and Robert's, and some of us guys been doing so a while, it was all done with sideband. Meteor scatter was Roger, Roger S2. You had to just, as fast as you could talk, give your call grid square, call grid square. Wait for another meteor burn. When you heard the grid, Roger, you came back Roger, Roger S2, which is report, then Roger, Roger, Roger then. So it used to be pretty comical during those days to get on sideband and just scream at the top of your lungs as fast as you could talk, but it was fun. Now, those of you that have lived in the valley probably have never really recognized that too much. We don't get that much meteor scatter aurora down here so much that we do up north. Let's see. FT8 was designed right here, was designed to take advantage of sporadic heat propagation 6 meter above. There's a ton of FT8 activities we know now. All of you guys are familiar with that, I'm pretty sure. During contests, that's real popular. If you've noticed, it's amazing. I know Mike and I've talked about this. The number of stations on FT8 in the valley, every time I turn my radio on, there's 3 or 4 more new ones on FT8. And you only have 2.5 kilohertz bandwidth there. So, and you know, it's pretty much a lot of power being run, a lot of big antennas. So I'm at least in Casa Grande. I'm a little away from the valley, but I know you guys in the valley, you've got to be feeling the pain of some of these guys are on. And you know, the FT8 is a great mode, but there's always the guys that really don't know how to operate it. They got their compression turned up or mic gain. They just don't have it set up right. But I'm getting on a little side note there. But FT8 in VHF contesting is big right now. It's probably going to take over CW and SSB and FM. It's just, you know, that's where unfortunately, that's where it's going. And then one of the big reasons is right here. Allows single band one radio station to have an active role in the contest without dedicating tons of hours headphone time, not sitting there calling CQ. You can kind of watch the screens you watch by, see the band open, jump on, and work some 6 meters. I know I've seen you guys on there doing that. And it's, of course, a great opportunity for SO2R stations. And I don't necessarily mean that as single op 2 radio like we think of that as low band contesting guys. But that's where you might have multiple stations, one band at one radio on 6 meters, one radio on 2 meters, one radio on that's dedicated to 222, one for 432, etc. Pretty much went through these. FT8, I'm kind of just getting ahead of my presentation here a little bit. I'm better at talking than presenting. Good points with FT8, easy to get going, turn a score, it's easy connection. Now with N1MMN, it's easy to integrate that. They've got that pretty much down. You can monitor. The biggest thing I like about you can monitor the band doing something else. Even when I'm roving, I've got 6 meters dedicated in the rover rig for contesting, just watching 6 meters to see it open. And when it opens, I drop what I'm doing. You got to get to it. So you got to be prepared. When 6 meters opens and FT8 open, you got to work. The biggest plus is you can work signals down to neg 18. With Q65, I worked some stations last week or 2 weeks ago when I was up north on my little grid expedition. Work some down at minus 24 dB. So you can work some really low signal strengths. The biggest problem with the FT8 or even MSK 140, MSK 140 is not as bad, but FT8 is accurate time source. Most people you're going to use their computer time, and that's not good enough. You need to have some kind of an accurate time source, internet time source. There's a couple of different programs you can buy that'll lock you into a like WWV or something like that. So that's an easy one to solve. Even in odd sequences, which one to write beyond, that's always a problem. Here in the valley, if somebody's on even, you almost got to all be on even. Otherwise, you're going to splatter everywhere, as you well know. One thing now, contest, non-contest mode, that's kind of been resolved. You see, this is an older version that I wrote a year and a half ago. So that's some of the newer versions of WSJT has kind of eliminated that. Even if you're in non-contest mode, you can still work non-contest. If you're in contest mode, you can still work non-contest stations. Here's the biggest 2 issues with FT8. Everybody gets complacent. They're sitting there working guys are plus 10 or 00. You could be on sideband. You know, 15-second sequence. So it takes at least a minute to work somebody on FT8 if you've got decent signals. You can work probably 5 guys at least. I know I can, or more in a minute on single sideband. So once you get down even minus 2 or 3 up to anything over that, Just get on sideband if you're contesting. You can do a lot better. Here's about if you want good clock accuracy, you can get these little GPS antennas that most of the radios nowadays have a 10 meg reference. You can hook a 10 meg reference to it, hook the GPS antenna in, or you can just hook the GPS antenna and receive that and get your time off of that. So it's not a big deal as it was when I wrote this. Propagation. Okay, VHF propagation enhances QSOs. Those you back east, you're used to tropospheric ducting, number 1 right here. It ain't happening out here. There's something called the Hepburn map. You guys are probably familiar with. If not, you can look it up. It's got colors of maps. It shows different where the moisture is in the United States. I saw one spot of yellow one time in 6 years. Otherwise, it's solid black in Arizona, which means no moisture. But I have noticed in 4 years and 5 years of contesting now, we do get some north-south ducting up into Utah, Idaho, Nevada. When Pete's up on the rim, south rim, it's a north-south ducting, about 5 to 6 on Saturday and Sunday afternoons. Well, pretty much any afternoon, but I'm talking contesting is 4 to 6. You get some ducting. Sporadic east, you got to be ready for that. That's really a June contest thing and a July CQVHF worldwide. There will be some left over here in September. So be prepared for that. It's always really there. It's just more prevalent, of course, in the July and June. Meter scatter, that's always there. Meter scatter is always there. Meters are always to work. So MSK 144, if you want to make points contesting, just get on there. You can work that any time of the day. Most guys are mornings and evenings because they're busy doing something else during the day. But you can work about any time. I think Mike told me he worked at Delta Mike 51 station day like 1:20 in the afternoon. So meter scatter is always there. Roar, forget about it. We don't see that down here. If we do, call me. Okay, gear, the multi-mode multi-band rigs are easy way to get started. FT 706 Mark II 857, 736 is vintage. They're still out there. I've seen 736s for $500 with all modules, 62, 222, 432, and 1296. There's some older single band radios out there too, and transverters. That's if you want to get into a 222, you're pretty much gonna need a transverter. Okay, antennas. Like every other antenna and ham radio, bigger is better. Now, another issue we have out here, which makes VHF contesting a lot more fun. There's a lot of guys here live in HOAs, can't put antennas up. So, you know, beams rule, but loops work. There's M Squared makes loops, Cushcrafts makes them, and so does Directive Systems. There's a link at the end of the talk here. I'll show you where you can get some. But loops are really good. You can even homebrew loops. They're not that hard. Kent WA5VJB, he has a cheap Yagi site, he calls it. Shows how to make some out of, I'm going to show you here in a minute, out of wood and PVC pipe, copper tubing. You make your own loops. So even if you only got loops, you can still work a lot of guys because we've got a ton of guys in the Valley that are running power and that you can work you. Here's just an idea. You can go on Kent's website. I'm going to spend any time on this. You can see he's got, you know, you make your own Yagi's piece of wood dowel and a piece of wood dowel or just a piece of wood and some welding rod or copper tubing. Easy to make. 6 meters easier to get on, you think. A lot of you guys, you know, you can use your 40 or 60 or 40 or 15 meter dipole to tune for 6 meters. And about anything will, you know, all the VHF radios now, I shouldn't say VHF, excuse me, HF radios pretty much have 6 meters and they have tuners. You can pretty much tune anything with them. And when eSkip is open, trust me, I think most everybody here has worked 6 meters. So I'm kind of talking about the contesting side of it. The 6 meters is probably your best bet anytime it's open. Just throw something out there and get on. You'll work somebody. Horizontal loop antennas, they should be horizontally polarized, especially great for if you got a new HOA. There's 4 or 5 guys that are in our club, which is AZVHF club, which are contesting club. And they just run loops and they're doing really well with them. Portal ops. Okay, this is the fun part. You're HOA restricted. You want to get out, not a lot of investment. Low power, smaller antennas. Phoenix area is nice. You can get on hills real easy. You can drive to them. And, you know, you've got it's all about elevation, line of sight, and you get up 300-400 foot just on some of these little hills around here. You know, you don't need to go up to, you know, Mount Lemon or top of White Tanks. I mean, if you want to, I've been there. It's killer bomb. You can work everybody. You can work guys with handhelds in their house. It's not a problem. But to operate portable is a lot of fun. And the soda guys will show us how it's done, and they have a lot of fun with it. Here's Pete. Oh, hang on a second. Here's Pete I was telling you about, W7JTM. This is an older flavor. Here's 6'2", 222, and 432 low power. Goes up on a hilltop, sets up, you know, it's got a computer. I think he can hand log back then. I don't think it takes a computer. I think he hand logs and transfers it over. He might take a computer now. Very simple setup. You don't need much. This is another portable setup he had. You can see it's up, but you can see it's really not up extremely high because he's got to hike all this stuff up. Everybody always says, well, I'm going to go to South Mountain. Stay away from South Mountain. There's too much RF up there, guys. It's the first thing everybody asks me, hey, should I just go to South Mountain and get on? Well, you can, but better stay low. Don't get up around the park and up the top. You get so much intermod interference, it's going to tear up your radios. Roving, that's what I do, only for the simple fact it's a lot of fun. These are some of the reasons why. One of the best parts about this line right here. You're going to be the belle of the ball if you rover a portable. Everybody's looking for you because you're going to move grids. As you move grids, you're going to get multipliers. So, for example, John N7NWL works me in Delta Mike 33, and then I move over Delta Mike 34. He works me again. He gets another multiplier. I also get another points for that too. So you're the belle of the ball. A lot of points. Great way to build skills. Bang migration antenna. It's just a good way to build skills. But it, you know, it's not something you're just going to do the first time out. You got to start out with just 6'2", 432, or just start out with 6 meters. You want to. Beginning rover, a few bands, vertical or loop antennas. Vertical is not that great on roving. You're not going to do well with it, but that's all you got. Get on and make some points and see what you can work. It's kind of interesting. I'll tell you one of the best spots. I'm going to give away one of my little trade secrets here for you guys in the valley. Rustler's Roost. It's killer bomb. They don't open till like noon on Sunday and even on Saturday. So the mornings are great. You're going to be, there's probably 20 cars up there now when I say this, but that's my little honey hole is up on Rustler's Roost. It's a great way. You know, it's up high. It's easy to drive to. You worked a lot of guys, just small antennas. Here's Jay. Back when he's lived back east, he's working from FM53. You can see that's a kind of a medium setup. He's got 2 meters and 6 meters set up, not much. Here's a got a little bit more going, 6 meters, 2 meters. He's got some stuff. Looks like a couple loops here. This is oops, what happened here? Uh-oh, hang on. Okay. Beginning rover, small antennas. This I took at Central States VHF conference a couple years ago. You can see this guy's just got a 6 meter loop, 2 meter loop, and 432 loop. That's all he's got. Has a lot of fun with. He's from Kansas. This is more advanced. This happens to be me. I've got even more stuff. This is back media creator a couple years ago. I'm not sure. This might be Jay. I'm not sure. And here's the best of all. This is WB9 SNR. You imagine driving down the road in eastern Chicago and seeing this car in front of you. That's a 4.5 foot dish in his trunk for 902 and above. So that was back in the day. It's all about the bands, more bands and more points. But you can see all the crazy configurations people come up with. These are what I call wild class rovers. These are the big boys. This is California style here. I mean, they go all out. They got rotors, you know, multiple bands working FM. There's probably, that's probably single op in there. These are all single op people that I know, and they do real well. But look, they all have rotors. I don't use a rotor here because in the valley, I've got one way to look, and it's pretty much to the valley, no matter where I'm at. Single op basic station. I'm going to run short on time here. I'm going to speed up a little bit, guys. 62432 AM FM sideband CW, 3000 watts. That's a standard, you know, the standard radio, even 10 watts on 2 meters will do you really good with a loop antenna. You'll work probably 20, 30 guys on this contest weekend in the valley here. Single op advanced, like what some of the bigger guns run. You can all the popular bands based on location stays to work. Right now in the valley, we have probably at least, I'm going to go through these, tons of guys on 6.2. probably at least 20 stations on 222, tons on 432 because it's standard. 902, there's probably a dozen or more of us. 1296, probably 20 or more. 2.3, there's probably a dozen. And 3 and 5 gig is not as many. There's probably 4 or 5 as most for rovers, but 10 gig, there's a lot of 10 gig activity. So 10 gigahertz in the valley is there's probably at least a dozen guys on during the contest. You can run big power on all these bands, high gain antennas. If you're advanced station, quality feed line. I'm not going to spend much time on this. Single op station in the WOW version. That's the guys running all the way up to light. Legal limits, stacks arrays, dedicated towers for different directions. Hardline, mass mounted preamps, well stocked. And here's the most prevalent one. You guys all know this one, but I don't have to reiterate it. Well stocked junk box for repairs on the fly. You need that for low band contesting. You sure need it for high band contesting, for sure, for VHF above. This is one of the pictures of one of my stations in Ohio. Was not one of my stations. One picture from my station, Ohio. You just see dishes mounted. There's a star for Christmas. Rotating FM antennas work FF antenna guys. This is a search antenna alone just for 222 by itself on a separate, I'm on 2 meters by a separate antenna. But stacks of antennas, single 6 meters pointed different directions just for to find somebody, then you can dial in the bigger antennas to work them. Here's the big wow. And the one I remember I told you about, this is W2SZ. Of those of you guys that might be from back east or heard of them, they are the top dog. Numero uno, have been, always probably will be. Big station out east, up on a mountain, all kinds of power, all kinds of bands, and all kinds of club. And these are the guys that they had to change the unlimited bracket for. They had like 200 club members, and they just basically passed the gear around. So you get up into the big boys, that's why they changed unlimited. They'd have a guy drive up, grab the gear, go out and run it with his call, bring the gear back, another guy drive up. So they changed the unlimited deal for that reason. Coax feed line loss, I'm not going to spend much time on this. We all know that, you know, you want some good coax. RG8X, RG213 is going to be okay for 2 meters, but you can't be running 8X and, you know, LMR 300 RG223 at 2 meters and 6 meters, or 2 meters and 222 above. Most everybody runs LMR 400. You can see it's pretty decent at 440. You get up to 2.3 gig, it's got some loss. It's all 400 feet. Okay, last a little pitch for myself here. I know I belong to Central CADXA and also to a couple other clubs, but we do have an organization called azvhf.org. Please feel free to email us, jump on board. If you're interested at all in contesting, come join us. No dues. We got a lot of information. We got a lot of time we spend with getting new guys started. We've got a couple, we started with 2 rovers. We got 6 rovers out there now. We got about 22 people in the club contesting, and we're making some waves in the VHF circle. You know, guys back east are going, what the heck are they doing out west? Well, we're having fun. That's what we're doing. We have the capability here because we have the, you know, we got places you can go that are close to 4 corner grids. We can do a lot out here. So there you go, www.azvhf.org. Here's the links I was telling you about. Kent's Chief Yagi's, just look up W85VJB. Commercial Systems, Directive Systems, Terry, who had fell off his roof here about 4 months ago. He's doing better now. So he's got some help now. He's still building antennas, great antennas. Of course, Mike Stahl, who now is legally blind, by the way, for those you might not know. I just talked to him a couple of weeks ago. And he's still, of course, M2 antennas, big antenna manufacturer. And then there's Steve, Down East Microwave. He does carry some antennas too. But basically for Steve, it's going to be transverters for 222 and above. That's pretty much it. Let me see how I get out of this now. How do I close down? Anybody help me? I'm done.